This is Talk of the Town, a weekly program featuring community events happening in and around Northeast Michigan, with your host, Nancy Smitham, and get the latest from Alpena Community College with Dr. Don McMaster. And now, today's Talk of the Town.
All right, perfect. So let's go ahead and jump right in. I'm going to definitely get to this outline, but the first question I want to ask you is just how have you seen things change since the start of the coronavirus pandemic?
Well, the sanctuary staff has actually been incredibly busy working behind the scenes virtually. All of us have our offices set up, remotely from home, and we have an incredible IT coordinator in Chuck Bennett, and so we've really been quite busy, with lining up additional research projects, making sure that the good work that we do all the time continues, and we're doing more education and community outreach via, webinars. So we've already had 2 of those in the past week, and we've got more planned. And then additionally, we're working closely with the Alpena Public Schools to continue the sanctuary, Science in the Sanctuary program by offering virtual classes with John Kaplis. So that's been continuing as well. We've been making plans on some improvements in the facilities at the Thunder Bay Great Lakes Maritime Heritage Center. And so there's been really a lot going on our end.
Well, let's jump into the specifics of some of those things. So you talked about webinars, and I know there's one coming up on May 12th. Talk to me a little bit about that.
That'll be really interesting. Stephanie Gondula, our research coordinator and maritime archaeologist, just did one in the past week, and so this is coming up on Tuesday, May 12th at 11. She does a really great job, and it will be very fascinating because she will incorporate a lot of the great visuals that were collected last year when they were doing the scanning of the lake bed. And so, we see a lot of what goes on above water, but there's a whole nother universe, so to speak, underwater, from shipwrecks to also just looking at the topography of the lake bottom. And there are different types of formations that many people haven't seen before, including the sinkholes. And so she will discuss and show the type of exploration that we do underwater.
Is there any limit on how many people can join in on that webinar?
No, there's not, but I do recommend that people go. It's being offered through the platform of GoToWebinar, and so I would go and test it out ahead of time. You can check out the links. Either you can go to the Thunder Bay National Marine Sanctuary Friends website and go to the event section and check out how to connect there, or they could easily contact me, and I could even forward the information to them at friends@thunderbayfriends.org.
Perfect. Now let's move on to Science in the Sanctuary. I know you all are very connected to learning with APS. How is Science in the Sanctuary continuing right now for students in Alpena?
I think it's going very well. We have 3 different segments that staff with the sanctuary, our maritime archaeologists, are providing. Stephanie Gondula, Phil Hartmeyer, and Wayne Lusardi. And they do such a phenomenal job of bringing that information alive. I've had the opportunity to see them work virtually, and they really do a fantastic job. So I'm sure it's a real treat from students. And then we've been getting feedback, thank yous from parents who have sat in with their students oftentimes and really have enjoyed being able to learn with them side by side.
Mm-hmm. And what about some research that you all are doing right now? It looks like you're planning for some events coming up in the near future. What does that consist of?
Well, some of the work I can't really even talk about right now because we're very busy. Our superintendent has been very involved in working with the research team and applying for funding for some pretty exciting research projects that will be announced down the road. One of the things that we were hoping to do this summer, that now we have confirmed will be taking place next summer is we have the ocean exploration team coming back and doing more study on the lake bed. And, the hope is always that we're always looking at opportunities to identify new shipwrecks. But it's also really to learn a lot more about the formations and topography of the lake bed, as well as potential natural features that will give us more information on the history, the natural history of the formation of the lake bed. So we know that will continue next summer.
Well, speaking of the lake bed and shipwrecks, one thing I was really looking forward to doing this summer that I didn't get to do last summer was getting on the glass bottom boat. What is the word on that? Is that still going to happen later in the summer, or is it still up in the air?
Well, it's all dependent on whether we can do that safely. So right now, we don't have a decision on that. There are still conversations taking place. But, we will definitely make sure that whatever we do, we'll be able to do it in a way that is safe for the passengers.
Has there been any discussion on still doing that tour digitally or anything of that nature?
Well, we are looking at all the ways that we can help people experience the sanctuary, online. And so NOAA has been the education team with NOAA has been doing an incredible job. And I've been posting on Facebook all the great resources that you can experience virtually. And they've done a lot with 3D camera work. And so it really, if you go online to those resources, or if you go to the Facebook page for the Friends, you will see those links. And it's like you're immersed in the ocean, except you're sitting at your laptop. They've really done a great job. So we hope to do a lot more like that. There's nothing like feeling the wind in your face when you're out on the boat. But as far as being able right now to explore what it's like to be underwater and researching a shipwreck, there's great content on our website already for that.
Well, I'll definitely have to check that out. Now, I think one of the things community members really want to know about that's huge in this area is the Maritime Festival. And to my knowledge, that has been canceled this year. Is that correct?
That is correct. And it's hard to really even talk about it because it's such a big disappointment for us. It's something that, every one of the staff from the sanctuary puts their heart into that program, and all our volunteers and the Friends Board. It's a huge effort, and it's something that we really love because we get to engage with the community. And we have often had people tell us it's like a big family reunion. Plus, we have a lot of guests who come in from other places for that. So it's a very difficult discussion and decision to make. But in reality, there's so many people that attend this, and it is really about bringing people together and, all the races and things like that, that we just couldn't get our hands around being able to do that in a way that we knew that the community would be safe. And so, our leadership had to make that decision. But what we are committed to is making next year's festival even better. We had already made the festival even better.
Okay, perfect. So I think the last question I was asking you about was if you had any plans for opening back up later in the year.
Right. At this point, I think everyone's kind of in the same boat in that we're waiting to make sure that whatever we do, we can do safely. And so, that will be dependent on the Centers for Disease Control, as well as, the guidance at the state level and in conferring with, our headquarters in Silver Springs. But at this time, we are looking at lots of other ways that we can continue to bring the sanctuary to people, or that they can continue to explore. We've talked about a lot of the online ways, and there's very rich resources available currently online for that. We also have the Maritime Heritage Trail, which is a great way for families to get together, spend some time outside, and be able to socially distance from anybody else, because those signs, they start down in Tawas and go all the way up to Hammond Bay, north of Rogers City. There's over 100 of them. They're really fascinating to follow. You can do it by car, and kind of go from one location to the other, but it's just all along the shoreline. And I know, I live in Presqu'Île, and there's a dozen of those signs in that area. And it's fun to see how many people are out doing that, because you can learn and identify where the shipwrecks are or other maritime historical structures like the lighthouses. So we encourage people to get out and explore their sanctuary along the Maritime Heritage Trail as well.
And is there a map that people can use to find those?
We are actually in the process of creating a digital app that they can download and follow it. But really, it's if you just take the US 23 along the shoreline, you will see the signage there. So, if you go into community, you can go into Rogers City. Alpena has a lot of them. If you take the Maritime Heritage Trail, or it's also referred to as the Alpena bike path, you can follow it along there. And I think just within Alpena, there's 18 miles of trail with a signage along it. So, you can go down to the harbors, all of those key locations where you access Lake Huron.
Perfect. Is there anything else that you would like to add or that you would like community members to know about?
Well, it's a difficult time for everyone in the community, and we are trying very hard at the sanctuary to figure out ways that we can support our local businesses. We have some work that's going to be done now that the construction can continue outside. We have a lot of work that's going to be done on our green roof deck. So that's exciting for us. We're going to expand that green roof deck. And so, that will be all done by local businesses here in the Alpena area. And so looking at all those ways, I think, that we can have a positive economic impact on the community is a big focus of ours as well.
All right, perfect. Anything else that you have?
Just be safe, be well.
Christine, can you give me a little bit of a history about the organization and the things that you do in the community?
So the Besser Museum has been part of this community for the past 50 years. We are the collections for our historic artifacts in the community. We're art, history, and science. So we have, like I said, the local history and a lot of artifacts. We have what we call a mini Greenfield village out in our backyard, 5 historic buildings, all from Alpena County, all over 100 years old. Also in our outdoor exhibits, we have the 1928 wooden Catherine V, a fish tug that was built on the shores of Lake Huron and fished out of Rogers City its career. And then we also just added to that collection the retired DNR Chinook vessel that also has a long history on the Great Lakes and Lake Huron in particular, doing research. Inside the building, we have a planetarium. We have the only planetarium in northern Michigan, and it's digital, provides both live programming with our planetarium coordinator, Jonathan Winkowski. And then we also have several galleries, our Native American gallery, our wildlife gallery, and then art gallery. We feature both local artists, and then we have a vast collection of well-known national, world-renowned artists.
What a wonderful collection of things that you have at the museum, and what a fascinating combination. You said art, history, and science.
Right. And the one thing I failed to mention also that was just added to the museum in the last, I would say almost 10 years now, I guess it's been, is our fossil park. So we teamed up with Lafarge and Specification Stones and created a hands-on science experience that really educates the public about the limestone and the fossilized marine life in that limestone that was from the Devonian period. And visitors can, come in and hunt for fossils and keep all that they find.
That is fascinating. So with all the wonderful programs and services that you do provide, Chris, to the community, but we do know, unfortunately, that COVID-19 has pretty much shut down a lot of things that people would normally be doing. Tell me how the museum has maneuvered this time of quarantine, of staying home, staying safe. How have you guys maneuvered that?
So we our staff is still working, and they are working from home. I have limited hours that I can come in and do administrative work and the things necessary to keep everything going here. And then our education coordinator, Amanda Kachurik, along with Jonathan Winkowski, our planetarium coordinator, have been doing a lot of program development outreach that they are posting on our Facebook. And there have just been some real wonderful different art activities and information that Amanda has been doing, even for Earth Day. Both she and Jonathan have been doing some live videos and posting different things about art, about fossils, about the history of Alpena. Jonathan has been focusing on what can be seen in the night sky on any given day. He had just put a post not too long ago that showed everything, like May 4th, there was a meteor shower. Coming up this month in May is a milk moon, and then coming up is close approach of Jupiter and Saturn. And so and then on the 27th at the end, there is a comet Swan visible to the naked eye. So he has these things on Facebook, and just getting a lot of good response, actually. So just still trying to give the public segments of art and history and science through our Facebook.
Oh, that is such a wonderful thing that you're doing there. Now, tell me, are you providing any resources for the schools? Are the schools students that they're not physically in the buildings, are they able to also engage with you through internet access or some other type of way?
So we have a really, I would say, detailed or our website. I guess it's hard to, describe what it is. There's so many resources on our website. We have some videos on there, historic videos, oral histories. We have some resources, resource page on there, a few virtual tours so they can access that way. As far as providing any help and resources, I know the schools recently reached out to community partners saying, if you have high Wi-Fi or high internet access, is it okay if they come into your parking lot and be able to access the internet that way? So, we provided that. Yes, we have the high-speed internet, and that anyone that's, working on school or needs to come into our, parking lot and access the website or internet, they can do that for their work. This is normally our busiest time of year with field trips. We put through, upwards of 1,500 to 2,000 kids at this time of year. And so we really miss not having people in the building and not being able to host the school groups this year. But we do, like I said, through the resources of what Amanda's been posting and Jonathan on our Facebook, and then what's available on our website, that is how we're providing and reaching out to our community.
Yeah, that is so unfortunate that the field trips will not seemingly happen, I guess, as they normally would. But Christine, what will the museum look like when we are able to reopen? Do you have a plan to reopen, and what does that look like for you?
So we were just discussing that and making sure that we have the hand sanitizer available as soon as you walk through the door, so that, that is available to people, and then also marking off spots that are the 6 feet distancing, and some spaces even farther just because of the flow of the museum, and then also looking into how to provide safe distancing in the planetarium. And we were just starting to discuss that, and we'll have more discussions with our planetarium coordinator too, and what he's comfortable with. But it will limit, some access in there. We do have a large campus outside where we sit on 8 acres, and so having the fossil park outside and the fishery exhibit outside, the buildings outside, just kind of seeing how that would play out. They could walk by, but we usually do Log Cabin Day at the end of June, and so we are just discussing how we would even go about that rather than holding the annual event like we always do. If we're open, we would just open the buildings and make them accessible, but not really have a full-blown Log Cabin Day. Because, as all institutions are doing, really scaling back and not encouraging large groups to, congregate together at any one spot yet until they say that it's safe to do so.
Right. So going forward, were there any programs that you have on your calendar, say, late in the year, say, for example, as we get into the cooler months, say the October through December time period? Were there any things on your calendar for that time period that we could look forward to?
Absolutely. So looking forward, in October, the first Saturday in October, we do our large Fall Harvest Fossil Fest event, and that includes. In the past, and hopefully again this year, we'll be able to tour the Lafarge Quarry. We do a bus down into the quarry so people get an idea of what that looks like down in that area that's, not open to the public. And then also last year, and hopefully we can do it this year too, they toured the World Concrete Tech Center and seeing how they, use that natural resource, limestone, to make cement that and then turns into concrete, and what the Concrete Tech Center offers to potential students. So that is a real big draw. During that time, we do a special admission of $1 per person and then $1 for planetarium shows. So we're looking forward to October for Fall Fest, and then into November we kick off our Season of Light, our Christmas exhibit, and that starts midway through November and goes through the first week of January. We are also going to have an art exhibit opening sometime in June with our local Northeast Michigan Artists Guild, and their art exhibit this year is called Journey. And so I can't think off the top of my head how many members they have in their guild, but they have been exhibiting at the Besser Museum through the summer months now for years, and we will not be able to host a big reception for them like we have in the past, but their artwork will be open to the public June, July, and August. And then after that comes down, we will have last year's juried art winner in that Tralfa Gallery, and she'll be on exhibit August and September and October. And after that is our juried art. So we hope to be able to host juried art. Again, it's open to all Michigan artists, and we'll have more information coming out and on our website about our annual juried art exhibit. So if all goes well through the cooler, like you say, fall months, few months away now, we will be able to offer those activities.
Well, we are certainly hoping so. We don't want to keep missing out on all this good stuff that you guys have on your calendar. And I guess just the last couple questions. I know that you often have volunteers. How can people support the museum once we get back to whatever our normal is going to look like? Would you still be open to receiving volunteers to support the museum?
So you are correct by saying yes, volunteers are a big part of making things happen at the Besser Museum. We have a fabulous crew that has been working in our collections and helping with our artifact cataloging and doing, organization there. We're going to inventory here in the next year or so. We have a garden club that takes care of the front gardens. They look absolutely beautiful. If people are interested in helping with that. We also have volunteers that help with cleaning, like our historic buildings when we open them, or maybe hosting educational groups, kids groups, helping with some of our big Fall Harvest Fossil Fest events. So there is always different opportunities for volunteering. We do have a volunteer application form that we ask everybody to fill out. And there's a lot of great ways to get plugged in to help this organization and its outreach mission, definitely.
Absolutely. Well, Christine, I think our time is about up, but is there anything else that you'd like to mention for us before we close out the interview?
No, I am just really happy with the support that the Besser Museum gets from our community, our memberships. If you're not a Besser Museum member, that is a great way to support the museum. Your annual membership dues really do contribute to the overall operation budget. And so that's a great way to support the museum, and then it gives you free access to the Besser Museum when we are open all year long. So.
All right. And then for those that may not know, would you please provide us with your website address?
It's just www.bessermuseum.org. And then, of course, our Facebook. If you go on Facebook and just type in Besser Museum for Northeast Michigan, just lots of great information, like I said, being posted daily from Jonathan Winkowski, all about astronomy, and then Amanda Kachurik, just lots of fun art activities that she's putting up there and some fun Alpena history.
Outstanding.
This has been Talk of the Town with your host, Nancy Smitham and Dr. Don McMaster. For a list of community events taking place in Northeast Michigan, please visit our website at wbkb11.com and click on our community link. This has been a Thunder Bay Broadcasting Corporation production.